Welcome back to Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Collectors community. I'm your host, Nico, and joined with me today, as always, is my co-host, Chris. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on?
And I just want to throw this out at the start of the show. If my voice sounds a little bit hoarse here today, or I start to fade fast, the virus finally got me. Everybody, I got COVID, but stay away from me. I'm doing all right though, so don't worry. Just a bit of a sore throat, kind of getting my rest and then taking it easy here. So just want to let everybody know though, if my voice does start to go, it's just because I really haven't been talking all that much today. So hopefully I can still pull this one off. I think I'll be all right. How about it, Chris? You gonna step in for me and help out?
All right, we'll see how it goes. How do you do
right.
the solo?
Yeah, all of a sudden I just leave the show. It's like all right, guys, but this week we're talking about the new comics of the week of May 18th, 2022. And in order to get into some of these books, just a little bit of a spoiler warning here for you guys. Sometimes we got to discuss what happened in the books. Sometimes we got to spoil certain things that we want to discuss. We try to do our best to kind of avoid certain big spoilers for you guys. But if not, you can always check the show notes that I always provide. Read your books, check back later. These shows are always in our playlist on the Late Night Collectors Community YouTube channel. So we try to do our best to kind of try to avoid the big ones, though. So, just be warned. And make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, that thumbs up, hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when these drop every week. They usually come out on Saturday. Last week, we actually had a fun live episode for episode 25 that we're going to try to do, I guess, whenever me and Chris actually do get together in person and want to do it, a live one, or even for like the, every 25 episodes type deal with those keeping on the comic brand of the big anniversary sized issues or whatever, right? So yeah, that was a fun time. That one dropped a little early last week because of the fact we did it live, but yeah, so stay tuned. We always got interesting things to talk about here, go over, other than like just the weekly comics. We talked about our top 5 current reads we read last week, so that was cool. And yeah, so make sure to check us out. Come back. We got a new comic book haul and review video coming out, I think, this next week that I do on the channel here, talking about the stuff I picked up throughout the month of April. A little late for that coming out, but that'll be coming out, as well as a new episode of Cracking Packs with the Chat, which is the show that we do where we open up cards. Me and my buddy Peter are going to be opening up some Dragon Ball Super cards. So make sure to check out those videos. They'll be dropping this next week. All right, though, without further ado, Chris.
All right, let's talk comics.
There you go. And don't worry, guys. I still got my beer handy here today as well. I got my tea and I got my beer, so I'm keeping it. I'm keeping on brand for the show, but being responsible at the same time. All right, here we go. Let's see. All right, this is Thor 25. Speaking of 25, yeah, the 25th oversized issue yet again, which is serving as this second issue in this Banner of War crossover between the Hulk books and Thor books that Donny Cates is writing both of. What'd you think of this, Chris?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good there. I like the stuff with Odin and inside the cockpit of the Hulk there. And, some nice. I like the stuff there with who's that? Like the Avengers and Spider-Man and Reed Richards trying to talk about what's going on with the Hulk. Get a lot of info about that El Paso incident. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought it was a good issue, but I don't know why it had to be an oversized issue. You know what? It's bullshit. The follow-up stories was like Enchantress or something. Not that they were bad stories, but I don't know. They didn't need to be there.
No, I'm with you. It's almost as like they were the leftover stories that didn't make the 24th oversized issue, that were stories about other people in Asgard. Because they did that 24th issue that was oversized, which is, I guess, what was it, issue 900 or something like that. It was some sort of.
Yeah, I don't know what it was even.
It's because the oversized issue, of whatever the numbering is, came out on issue 24 of this current renumbering. So instead of doing the event one with that issue, which I think would have made a lot more sense, they came back with the follow-up issue being this issue of 25 as an oversized one, like Chris said, 2 other stories, one about Loki, one about Enchantress. Loki, Thor, and
oh yeah, else. That's the wedding one. Yeah,
yeah.
That was a story too, but
It was fine, but it has nothing to do with this event. Doesn't it would have been better suited for the issue last time, right? So I don't know. It wasn't necessary, really. So I didn't love it, but the stories were okay. Yeah, but I like this part. I like when Iron Man Tony Stark's going on and on about how like he somehow tracked down the Hulk like in space. And Reed's like, oh wow, I didn't know you had the know-how and the technology to figure something like that. Like Reed's like generally impressed. Not that Tony Stark isn't also very smart, but Reed like couldn't figure out how he did it. So he's just like, oh wow, I'm really. He's like, nah, I didn't really do that. It was the Ravens that told me. And the fucking Ravens are just chilling with Spider-Man. I thought that was funny. He's just like, what? He's just like sitting there eating. Oh man, yeah, that was pretty jokes. I did like that part. But yeah, other than that, like you said, the cool part was Odin going inside his head and throwing down with Bruce Banner. But the thing that they did reveal in this was that I guess Hulk isn't aware that it's of what's going on. Like he's not aware
there's that one line there, Hulk, he's not going to know it's a simulation. Maybe I think they might have been referring to the Hulk in the engine room was controlling the spaceship, and then he just thinks he's out there, doing whatever he does.
Right. So
he was pounding the crap out of freaking Celestials. What the hell is he going to do? The things coming out here.
Well, that's what I mean. I think that's going to wreak havoc on like this current setup they have inside of his head now. Like Odin kind of really messed things up, I think, for what Banner really has kind of the operation he has going inside of Hulk right now, right? So that should be interesting. But yeah, here I'll show you a little bit of the other two stories here. Yeah, this one was by, again, I think he was even on the last issue. This is a classic Thor team, Tom DeFalco and Ron Friends, who did a run that a lot of people really enjoyed throughout like the late 80s, early 90s. So they came back for this Enchantress story, which was funny, Chris, because this one was kind of like, she thought like Odin was like trying to get it on with her. And then she like brought it up to him and like tried to use like her seduction, like to like kind of like get to him. And then he's like, "How dare you?" And you like made her feel shamed as a result of it. It was a very strange story. I was like, "What is going on in this story?" Yeah. And then yeah, the other one was like you said, it was just it was a wedding here. Thor had to dress up like a woman because he wanted to marry Angela. This ice giant, and Loki was like, Angela was like, no, that's not happening. So Thor had it was funny cartoony art. Thor had to dress up like her. So, anyways, it was fine. What'd you give it, so overall?
I give this one a 4, like just for basically the ongoing Thor story.
Same.
If this was just a regular sized issue, I would have been just fine with me though.
Yeah, no, I gave it a 4 just based on that story too. If I had to like rate it on the other two stories and stuff, I would give it like a 3.5 or something probably.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, Savage Avengers #1, the relaunch of this series. Jerry Duggan wrote the last series for almost like 30 issues. I was a big fan of it. This is written by this new guy, David Pepose, I think his name is. I'm not really familiar with him, and Carlos Magno on art. What'd you think of this one, Chris?
Well, this was more of a history story. They just kind of go through all the new characters of this Savage Avenger team, just kind of picking up wherever they are. So it wasn't like nothing earth shattering though, but it was a decent story, and I might stick around for the ride here for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a couple more issues for sure. I think for me there was a lot of inner monologue type shit going on, and I was just like, that's what I thought there was a little bit too much of that. Not even inner monologue, like, you know what I mean, like the person, the narrator of the story, essentially, that he was telling.
Yeah, when they're moving from character to character, the inner monologue is of the previous story or the previous characters. When they're moving on to new characters, and it just didn't quite match.
Right. Which were both happening at the same time in this issue as they were introducing them. Like they weren't really letting the story be told through the interactions of the characters coming together. It was introducing everybody, and then you would switch over to their inner monologuing themselves. So it was a lot of text in this one. Let's say it was a lot to read this, like as an intro issue of getting the band together, which I really love. Like when everybody comes together, like I just felt it was overridden, let's say, for that type of thing. But that being said, I do like the characters involved, and I'm kind of interested in what's going to happen with Conan, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in the show with a piece of news that just came out because Marvel's lost the license to this character. So already in this story, there's a story that they're telling where it looks like Deathlock is trying to erase him from the time stream, essentially because of his crimes of coming to this timeline. So
yeah, from the covers, I always thought Deathlock was part of the team, not the enemy of not the enemy in the issue, I guess. But
yeah, I like Deathlock. I'm a big fan of Deathlock. You don't see him enough, I find. Like, I know he's been in Jason Aaron's Avengers a little bit. I don't know. And I think has he been around and while you've been reading it? Because I heard that there's like a whole Deathlock kind of army and shit.
Yeah, that was before in the last few issues of the Avengers when they were kind of chasing around those masters or the multi-universe masters of evil almost.
This guy's kind of stupid, this Weapon H or whatever the hell his name is. I don't know, this Weapon dude, this guy who's kind of like the Hulk but Wolverine. I don't know. I don't know. I get why they're putting him there, but like, I like Cloak and Dagger. I like Deathlock. I like Elektra. So there's some good characters on the team. The art was decent. Yeah. I don't know. What'd you give it?
I'll give it a 3.5.
Same. Yeah, we're on the same rating system so far today. I agree. I think if it had a little bit more room to breathe, it would be more. But let's see where it goes next issue.
Like a issue 0 or something, you know, like it wasn't really the beginning of the series. It's just kind of introducing it to who's going to be in there and how they end up wherever they ended up.
Yeah, Black Knight is cool too. I like Black Knight. Anti-Venom, whatever. I mean, that is not Eddie Brock, Flash Thompson, but yeah, he's better. He was better as Agent Venom. I don't really love Anti-Venom, really. So, all right, Chris, Catwoman.
After that, Catwoman 43.
Hold on a second here. Let's take a look at that. Oh yeah, nice cover.
What is a nice cover there, you know. Looks like Catwoman and Harley Quinn are on a bit of a road trip. Catwoman wants to get out of town for a bit. Things got a little squirrely for her there in the last few issues, and I guess she was concerned about Batman being back in town and didn't want to, I guess, get tangled up with him. So they kind of just took off, and hilariousness ensues. They end up on some roller derby team, and I don't know what the heck's going on. There was a big reveal of another DC animated character at the end. What's her name? I don't know. I guess I don't think it's a big reveal, but it's Red Claw or something like that. Have you heard of her?
No.
I don't know. Well, she was part of I guess she was from the animated series. So
of Harley or Batman?
I don't know. Like, I can pull it out.
Yeah.
Maybe recognize her here. Spoiler alert, but it's basically just the last page here. Yeah, Red Claw.
Yeah, no, I'm not familiar with her. I'll look her up while you're talking. I'm interested. Yeah, interesting. But she's from the animated series, you're saying?
I think that's what I read earlier. That she think it's a new.
Yeah, she is. I just don't remember her. Red Claw is leader of an international terrorist organization of the same name. And appearances: The Cat and the Claw, Part 1. Part 2, and The Lion and the Unicorn. Yeah, so I guess it was from Batman. Yep, Batman the animated series. This must have been in the later years. I don't remember her. So
I didn't watch much of the animated series, so I can't really comment on it.
Okay, that's cool though. This might be. Is this possibly her first appearance in the comics?
I think so. This could be something. Could be for the speculators out there. Could be something.
I was about to say. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Very neat. Okay.
Yeah, but it was a fun issue. A lot going on. I think some of the gangs are trying to still chase down Catwoman and kill her. So, but you don't know who's coming after her. And I don't know, it's just a lot of fun conversations between Harley Quinn and Catwoman. Catwoman seems a lot more lighter in this one. She's not so, I guess, grave. So it's a good issue. I give this a 4.
Nice. Okay, cool. Next
up, what do we got? New Mutants 25. This is one of the variant covers. You got the Goblin Queen there.
Nice.
Doing what she does.
Yep.
And I think this is the beginning of a new arc in here. Matic is trying to rid herself of the title of the Limbo. what's she, the Limbo Queen or something, or Queen of Limbo? I don't know what it's exactly.
Magic? Yeah, Limbo. Yeah, yeah. Like she basically runs it essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and before I read this comic, I was always under the impression that Madeline Pryor here, the Goblin Queen, was going to be taking this by force or through some nefarious means. But basically, in this issue here, Magic just wants to get rid of the burden of being the Queen of Limbo, and she went down to Limbo with Madeline Pryor there, the Goblin Queen, to basically almost sign it over to her, to give her the power so she could take it over because she's been a leader. I guess Magic's been trusting her lately, and then I guess things go sideways from that. But with all the stuff I've been reading, like even in that free comic book day where you see Chasm sort of teaming up with Goblin Queen, I always thought she was going to be kind of portrayed as a villain, but so far she hasn't been very villainous yet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to see where this. I'm going to follow this arc at least with the story with Magic and Madeline Pryor and what they do in Limbo.
Cool.
Pretty good issue. Yeah, just not what I expected though.
I was gonna say that does sound something like that I would like too. Actually, I dropped off New Mutants, but that does. I love Magic. Magic's like one of my favorite X-Men characters.
Yeah, so I think this one was just basically Magic, her, Madeline Pryor, Moonstar, and Wolfsbane. So they were the 4 characters in this one.
Not bad. Nice.
And spoiler alert, she gets her what's that sword she has gets smashed up too. So that's a wrinkle in the plan.
Magic's? Oh damn.
Sword or something.
Yeah. Oh man.
I think that's her key to ruling the Limbo. So
all right.
From there.
Interesting things. What'd you give it?
Oh yeah, I'll give this a 4. I liked it.
Nice. Cool. All right, next up, we got Black Hammer Reborn, the final issue of this current Black Hammer series. It was okay. I mean, I've been saying that about the last few issues. I think it kind of ran out of steam a little bit towards the end of this run of this 12-issue series, if I'm being completely honest. Black Hammer overall, all the miniseries and the 2 kind of series that came out prior to this one, all really, really good. So overall, I think Black Hammer has been fantastic. This one is probably one of the weaker installments of it. There is one more, I think, 4 or 6 issue miniseries that called The End that's going to be coming out next year that they actually mentioned in the back of this issue. That's going to wrap everything up. So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope he sticks to the landing, so to speak. So Black Hammer, as I mentioned, I think on previous episodes, Jeff Lemire's kind of like own superhero universe that he made, like a creator-owned thing through Dark Horse Comics. But it has a lot of characters that are very similar, obviously, to favorites of his in Marvel and DC, basically his own homage, let's say, to these type of characters or this type of superhero stories that he wanted to tell. So, while also being its own thing, though. And I think he's done a great job of it. It's just that, this one was okay. This was one of those multiverse, all the worlds are coming together, kind of worlds are colliding type stories going on at the end of this Black Hammer Reborn, which we've seen, even in Marvel with Marvel Secret Wars, and you now you're seeing that kind of shit in the Marvel movies. So it's nothing like new in that sense, but I think that the story he told wasn't bad. It just was not as good as previous installments. So I gotta unfairly compare it to everything that's come before, because there's been so many Black Hammer comics that's come out over the last few years that he's been pumping out in between main series and mini series, focusing on different characters in the universe. So looking forward towards the end, but this one I gave a 3.5. It wasn't bad, but nothing spectacular. And this is the Shaolin Cowboy, Cruel to Be Kin. This is by an awesome artist, Jeff Darrow. He worked on stuff like with Frank Miller back in the day, and he's done a bunch of comics on his own. The Shaolin Cowboy. This is actually like the trilogy. This is the 3rd miniseries in this current group of miniseries that he's been putting out with this character over the last few years. This guy's artwork is super, super detailed. If you guys have never seen his art, check out one of his books. I can't even really do it justice on the screen here. I'm actually going to take us off the screen for a moment just to zoom in on this for a moment. I'm going to try, but like there's detail and drawings on like all the all the shit like that's even like around the city, like he actually makes it look dirty, and there's like trash and stuff all over the place. There's drawings on the building. Like the amount of detail this guy puts in his artwork is unreal. Like I can't even this is not doing it justice. You guys just gotta like take a look at his art. There's a bunch of oversized books of his that are out that kind of highlight the artwork best, I'd say, if you pick up any of the oversized hardcovers of any of these series. He did Big Guy and Rusty Robot with Frank Miller back in the day, and he did like I said, there's about 3 or 4 other Shaolin Cowboy miniseries, all really great, really, really well drawn. Anyways, I will say so far, this is probably the best written story I think he's done from recent memory. The last couple he did in this series, he didn't really write too much for. Like the last miniseries, I think it was only 4 or 5 issues, and it was literally all the stories essentially just this guy, this monk, this Buddhist monk, the Shaolin Cowboy, who has like a pistol by his side and knows like, you know, the Buddhist ways. And he can like he yells out like things like, I guess like Buddhist type like life things to people, and like he'll karate the shit out of them. So like, but like he always wanders into like this desert, okay? And every miniseries, he just somehow gets into this desert, and just a bunch of things just attack him, and he just kicks everybody's ass. It's very simple. That is basically the premise of every single of these miniseries. And this one is being told from the perspective of like these big like Komodo dragon type lizards that are roaming around the city at the start here, and they see the Shaolin Cowboy, and he's like old and beaten, I guess, after the last miniseries fight, and kind of like wandering around this city trying to look for some food or something. And then they start talking, and then the lizards actually start talking to one another. And the one is like, I guess, the father of this other one. He's like, son, he's like, do you know who that is? That's the Shaolin Cowboy. And he starts like telling him this story about how back in the day he was about to get eaten by this huge lizard, and he saved him. And then he just became his companion, and they just traveled through the desert. And from there, he just encounters all these weird things that he fights. And they actually tell the story about that in this, I guess they're telling stories about that in this miniseries. Like here, I'll show you. By the end of it, there's like some weird, there's like some weird baby in a weird suit, like that's controlling like a pterodactyl and some other weird creature. Like he's just flying through the air. Like there's dinosaur bones in the desert, and like, I don't know, man. It goes places, and there's weird things that he encounters and fights. And like I said, look at the detail on the art. Like if it doesn't do it justice, check it out, guys. So I gave it a 4. I think like there's not really much meat to the story, but I will say he's definitely written more of a bigger of a setup in this miniseries so far, even in one issue, than he did in the previous 2 installments. So I'm looking forward to more of this tale. But yeah, it's going to go the same way. I know it is. It's really just going to be him fighting people with spectacular looking art for the next 6 issues, which I'm absolutely fine with. 4. I give the book overall a 4 based on the story, but on the art, I give it a 5. Like the art's amazing. His art's, he's one of my favorite artists. He's not very fast, as you can tell probably from some of the detail that he puts into these pages. So he doesn't put stuff out every like a year. It may be years in between projects. So every time he does come out with something, I check it out. So yeah, Shaolin Cowboy, Cruel to Be Kin, number 1.
Nice.
All right. Nope, that has to stay up. All right, here we go. Next up, Batman Superman World's Finest, number 3. All right, take it away, Chris.
Well, this wasn't my favorite issue out of the 3 so far. I think this has been the least favorite. Still drawn great, still nice color in there. Story's moving along, but I didn't like what's that? Batman or not Batman? Supergirl and Robin going back to China or something in the past. They seem to time travel so easily. And then what do they meet up the Airbenders or something, or what? There's the fire, water, earth, and are those the first Airbenders, or I don't know what they were about. And then back in the main story, well, I guess they go to hell too, and that was okay. Everything was just okay. You know, and then I don't know if it's a spoiler here, that Devils is starting to take over some of the heroes, and of course it has to be the Green Lantern again.
Yeah.
Green Lantern is always the first guy that gets turned, it seems, and everything. And the vampires, there's some other story before. He's always the bad guy. He's always the good guy that gets turned.
Yeah, he's kind of like he's kind of like a frat boy. That's what.
Yeah, DC doesn't like him. Like, they're all so happy to see Green Lantern. They're like, wait a second, how do you know about this? And well, pow, put you in a cage.
Yeah, I mean we're on the same wavelength today, Chris. I agree with you. This was probably my least favorite out of all 3 issues so far. Not to say it was terrible. It just it just didn't. It didn't give me as much as the other issues did, I think, in terms of the storyline so far. But I think there is some interesting things still going on that I'm looking forward to. But it wasn't bad by any means. But like you said, I think for me the most interesting part was the intro where they were in. Well, he thought it was hell. Felix Faust tricked Batman into thinking it was hell, and he really shows like that he's scared in that moment, of like a moment of weakness that he reveals to Superman and really looks for him to help out. I do like that. I will say twice in this.
I would like that if they were in hell for some reason, but when it's revealed that it was just an illusion, then that kind of just this is kind of going a balloon some way.
I will say though, I think what I liked about this issue though is they both leaned on each other at separate parts of the issue. Like these are guys that you don't really normally see doing that, even though they work within a team environment with Justice League stuff. But there was a couple times like this moment, Batman's like, like he's really like, it seems freaked out at like thinking that he's actually in hell, and he's like, Superman, I need help. Like, he's not, yeah. And then Superman, like, there's another moment where he's having trouble with somebody, and then Batman comes to his aid, and then he's like, okay, what do you need me to do? Like, he shows up and he swings back into action, tries to help him out right away because he cleaned up his mess before Superman was able to. And the pacing of the book is still running at a fast clip. Like, this is there's a lot going on in every issue. I just feel this one didn't have as many great things going on in it for the story being told than the previous issues did, right? That in comparison.
They still haven't revealed this devil Nisa or whatever they call him.
Yeah, he's the one that's pulling the puppet string. But yeah,
hopefully that's it's a good payoff.
Yeah. So 3.5. That's what I'm giving.
3.5 for me.
Yeah, same. Okay. All right, Nightwing 92. This is the return of Bruno Redondo on art, who's been away for the last, I think, few issues, I feel like, because I think they did that crossover, and then there was the Flash issues. He went and drew the Superman Son of Kal-El issues, and then he wasn't on this title, and then he was away for the 2 Flash issues of the storyline. I think that Bruno Redondo, the regular series artist, was gone for, but he's back in this issue, and what a great opening. I loved this. I loved the coloring and the look of like the dot pattern art to make this look like old school looking art at the start of here, because it's like a flashback to when he was actually Robin, and it looks like a Batman 60s comic type of style. Like, it is awesome. I thought as an intro to the issue, to kind of give you a little bit of their past and kind of work it, like help work this into the storyline that we're kind of dealing with today, and how Nightwing and Batman are different from one another, like how they help people in a different way and care for people in a different way. I thought it was great. I love this issue. I don't know. What do you think about this, Chris?
Well, like I said, I thought the art was great. That's just too bad they didn't have sort of a meteor issue to bring him back in. This was kind of I thought like the story was kind of duddish. I wasn't too keen on the story, but I thought their art was great. And, it's kind of nice that when those all those villains were revealed, or when Robin's deciding to show the city that he's or Bloodhaven, whatever, that he's the protector there, I thought that was okay. It was a nice splash page where he's jumping out, where it's like a double page spread.
Yeah.
Great. But the story overall, I thought was kind of just lacking.
Oh, I thought otherwise. Then I really loved it. I thought this was cool. Like him opening up the Haven thing for all the kids that he's been working towards, of like the homeless kids and the people like down and out in the city in Bloodhaven. I thought it was hilarious how fucking Bruce showed up looking like this to the event. Just like,
Bruce came with the dog too, but
yeah, and I loved how they did the statue for Alfred. yeah, Blockbuster finally met up with that Heart Ripper guy, that whatever his name is, the guy's ripping hearts out of people's chests at the end here. I don't care about spoiling that. He's been around, but now they finally connected these two, the two big bads at Bloodhaven, let's say. Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed this. I just like the tone and the and yeah, the art and the intro, and yeah, I loved everything about this. I'm sorry I didn't do it for you, but yeah, look at that.
Yeah, like there, that's worth the comic right there. Just
That's worth the price of admission, absolutely. Yeah. So, okay, so what'd you give this then?
Let's give this a 3.5. I wasn't too enamored with it, but like I say, wasn't bad either.
5. 5. I love this.
Wow.
There you go. That's where we part. That's where we part ways, Chris. All right.
I'm struggling with the Nightwing.
All right. There you go, Chris. Elektra.
Okay, we got Elektra, Black, White, and Blood. It's one of the anthology ones. I think the big reason I bought this, because there was, I guess, in the solicitations or whatever, when they talk about the book, one of the guys that do the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, he was writing one of the stories in here, and they kind of were teasing all this big stuff. It's like, oh, what's his name, Kevin Eastman or something?
Yep.
Yeah, Kevin Eastman's gonna, get some time in Hell's Kitchen. Cowabunga, grab a slice of pizza and enjoy. So there's a lot of hype that maybe the Turtles might be showing up in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, spoiler alert, they don't. But it's still a good story by Eastman. It's basically, Eastman's the third story. I think it's basically a poem going out there, and there's like a dark and light, and it's mostly in black and white, and there's a dark and light kind of Elektra fighting each other. So a lot of great kind of fight scenes. And then at the end, like in the pool of blood, I guess a red Elektra arises. So kind of more.
I was gonna say, did Daredevil show up in this story at all?
No, this was more of a like an artsy sort of type of story, where it's more style over substance. And then there was another story by Peach Momoka, I guess from her Demon days, with a reimagining of Elektra. I didn't really look into that too much, but it was something without any words. I just kind of leafed through it. And then the first story had something to do with her and Ghost Rider, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet. Okay. So I can't give a true rating on this, but I just feel bad that freaking everybody was talking about these turtles showing up, which I thought would be super awesome.
Right. Well, I mean, I remember you saying that to me. I will say one thing, though. The fact that Kevin Eastman is doing something in the Daredevil universe, though, is cool because Ninja Turtles basically is their take. They ripped off Daredevil, right? Like
supposedly for the Turtles, that same chemical that gave Daredevil his powers leaked into the sewers, and that's what fell on the Turtles and Splinter.
Well, they've admitted as much that when they came out with that comic, they were digging Daredevil so much that they took obviously a lot of inspiration from the Frank Miller Daredevil of that time. So, and they did it in black and white comic boom time, and that's why it was like such a big hit. But they basically like the hand, the foot, right? Like there's a lot of
parody of Daredevil.
Exactly.
Maybe they're going to get him in here somehow. But no.
That's a shame, but I mean, I think it's still cool that he was able to play in that world.
Story, but they shouldn't have hyped it up that, putting Cowabunga and it's pizza time or something, where you're putting, just all these hits there that lead you to think that it could be Turtles.
Cash grab. Grab.
We can talk about cash grab in the next There
you go. Well, here it is.
There we got the Shadow War Zone. So I guess this is just another story. I've been really digging the Shadow War. I think this is an homage cover.
X-Men, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Days of Future Past, I think maybe.
That's the one there. I find it funny when DC does Marvel homage covers. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
But I didn't really get this one on pre-order, but when I went to the store there, it was up on the rack, so I took it out of my pull bin and I picked up the pre-order one. So the story of the Camp comic starts out great. It's a story with Black Canary and Angel Breaker, and I thought this just would be a continuation of all the stories that are going on in the Shadow War. So that's what I was expecting. It's called Shadow War Zone.
Yeah.
I'm reading through the story. It was a nice battle, I guess, between Black Canary and this Angel Breaker. They seem to have some sort of history together. Where I think it's Angel Breaker. And the Angel Breaker, Black Canary was the Angel Breaker's teacher or something. They fight. and then she gets called away, so the fight ends. And then the story ends. And there was like 10 pages in. I go, okay, oh, that's it. Okay, what's going on next? And then the rest is it was just more of an anthology series, a story about Talia al Ghul as a girl.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, some other freaking baloney story.
So this isn't the end of the event then?
No, this has nothing really to do with the event. Deathstroke isn't even in the comic. Batman's not in the comic. It was just all, like, this had really nothing to do. The Black Canary and Angel Breaker could have been like the second story in one of the other titles where they like to split the stories, you know, like.
Oh, that's bullshit. Why would they call
nothing to do with the Shadow War Zone?
That's bullshit then. Why would they call it that?
Clown Hunters were in there. Oh yeah, one story was who's that? The Ghost Maker or whatever.
Yeah.
He's still training the Clown Hunter, so it was him training him. And it had nothing to do once again with the Shadow War. So
that's disappointing.
Yeah, like that's just a kind of another bum rush with kind of promise. Like even when I reread the solicitations too for this one, and it was like, you know, Talia's put a hit on all known associates of Deathstroke. Oh, things are gonna go mad. And it was like 10 pages of just a fight between Black Canary and Angel Breaker, which it was a good 10 pages. Those are both great characters. It's drawn great, but I was expecting more out of that. So on that reason alone, if that story was just, you know, fleshed out between those two, I would have given it, you know, a higher rating.
Yeah.
But otherwise, that's a 3 there. I felt.
Yeah.
It left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds about right. All right. Batman the Knight. This is issue 5. I'm glad I stuck with this. This has been really good. This is probably my favorite issue of the series so far, I would say. So I talked about last issue on the show and how he was working. He was like, I don't know, training. Like it was one of those things where he's training on top of a mountain and like a Shaolin, like kind of monk, kind of sanctuary type thing. You know, in one of these situations where he's like learning the ways of by the master type situation. Like it could basically be like a Ra's al Ghul kind of thing or whatever, right? The League of Shadows type situation, but it wasn't that. But again, this is telling the story of Batman before he was actually in the suit. This is just the adventures of Bruce Wayne traveling around the world, having experiences, learning the tricks of the trade, like the things that he used to his, you know, that he uses as Batman that he picked up through his life. So the skills. So in this particular issue, at the end of the last one, he leaves the place that he was training with another one of the attendants there. Like they both were kind of like, this place is bullshit, let's leave. And they left and went on their own after they had kind of picked up all they could from there. And now they met up, they rendezvoused with somebody else, and they got arrested, like, and had to go to a prison in Moscow. And so they're there with some Russians, and then all of a sudden, so they're there with the Russians. So all of a sudden, somebody who poses as the guard, gives them an opportunity to escape. And then they find out the person that was posing as the guard is actually the person that they were supposed to be meeting up with. That's supposed to be now training them next. That Ducard had set up for them in their journey. This woman. So then she basically teaches them the art of like seduction in a way, like the art of like how to like get what you want, get past people, like talk to people in a way that you could kind of trick them into kind of doing things for you, like just being a smooth talker, an operator, and this kind of thing. Like and the guy that's Anton's his name, I think, I forgot his name. The guy that's with him that left the monastery with him, that's kind of tagging along. He's way better than this and Bruce is, as you know, we could tell from who he becomes as being Batman. He's not very social, so he's not very good at talking the talk and kind of, you know, and getting past people or tricking them or and doing this kind of thing. So they get into a couple scenarios where the other guy excels and gets what he wants, and Batman just fails miserably, and then he's always kind of you know, following on the coattails of this other guy, right? And then they basically they went they were pretending they were some other type of people during some sort of party that they attended, and they stole some sort of notebook of all these like contacts that are important from the party, from like some high up like person in the army or something like that, military man. And then at the end, the woman goes to he tricks the guy who stole it, and Batman's able to pickpocket it off of him. So then Batman, Bruce is the one that gives it over to him, and he's like, "Ah, God damn it, you got me in the end." Like he kind of like, yeah, he always had to get the upper hand, right? Bruce is like, "No, you may have stolen it, and I sucked at it, but I'm gonna get it away from you," right? So he kind of made it there in his own way, in a sense, right? But so he gives he's about to give the pocketbook over to the woman at the end, and then he throws it over the bridge into like the lake, and he's just like. He's like, yeah, sorry, there's important contacts in there that no one should get a hold of them. So you're one of them. And she like smiles at him, and she's like, okay, mission accomplished. Like she was proud that he made the right decision in that moment. It's like, okay, I think it's time for the masks now. So it looks like they might suit up by the next issue. We're about halfway through almost this. Oh yeah, with this issue, we're halfway through this 10-issue miniseries. But yeah, it's cool seeing him kind of out of his element and learning things and not really great at them yet, and kind of as Bruce, like he hasn't been Batman this whole time. So I hope they don't get right to the costumes, or at least what we know of Batman by the next issue. But I hope they gradually reach that point to the last issue where maybe then he'll don like the cowl in that last one. That'd be cool, because I think I've been enjoying this book now that I know kind of what it is and what the stories they're trying to tell for Bruce in this. So yeah, I gave this 4.5. This is very good issue.
Nice.
And then lastly, out of the ones I read here tonight, Wolverine patch number 2. I'd already pre-ordered, I think, the first 3 issues of this. After we talked about the first issue, me and Chris, I was like, yeah, I think I made a mistake on this one. I didn't really dig that first issue. And this one was even worse than the first issue.
It was better.
No, it was just maybe it's just me. It's just boring. Like it's again in this issue, in this series, they're dealing with Russians as well. And in most of this issue, you barely see Wolverine. It's basically just focusing on like the Tiger and Wolverine and Shield, and them and investigating this these Russian organization in the woods, like in Madripoor or wherever the hell they are. I don't know. I just it's a lot of shit going on I just don't care about. And the art's fine. Like the art's not anything spectacular either. Like it's serviceable and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not like an artist that I'm like, I got to pick it up because their name's on the cover type thing. You know what I mean? So like for me, it's just that bland, boring Wolverine story that they're trying to tell in a different time period from his past that I'm just like, I'm not really here for it personally. So I gave it a 2.5. Yeah, I mean, I almost want to give it a 3 just because, like, I'm like, maybe there's nothing really bad with it and it's just me hating on it. But I mean, if I got to let you know of my level of enjoyment reading it, it was a snooze fest. So I got to give it that rating. So, yeah, I don't know. Mutant versus Mutant.
That story needs Alpha Flight to show up in there, like in the 2nd issue or something, or the 3rd issue. Then I'd be going, oh man, I missed out. But
yeah,
anybody showing up in there.
Well, someone does. You know what? I think I'm reading the next issue anyways on the show, but it's not even like a huge spoiler for a miniseries like this, so I'll mention it. Someone does show up at the end of this issue. It's Jean Grey, but it's like her as like some sort of like it's not even Jean Grey in the flesh. It's almost like like you know what I mean? Like she's in someone's head or something. I don't really know what the hell's going on, but that's who shows up.
With Jean Grey and Wolverine, that story's so played out.
That's what I mean. So I'm like, even that didn't save it for me. I'm just like, whatever. So anyways, there you go. Fantastic Four 43. Chris, what did you think of this one? This continuing the Reckoning War.
Yeah, I wasn't big on this too. I wanted more of what's happening with Reed Richards and the Thing and She-Hulk, and basically all you do is find out that they're stuck wherever they are and they're all slowly dying. And was this where they're chasing around all that armor? I like the stuff with Doctor Doom though. Is this with Doctor Doom, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was cool. Here, he shows up here. Yeah, the Doom stuff was good. The Doom stuff was good.
Stuff was good. And yeah, I guess that kind of redeems it. But all that stuff with Johnny Storm and all that stuff where they're all battling out in space. They're going to try and take the battle to the Reckoning now or something. I didn't really feel that too much. So it's kind of hit and miss. There's some good pages, but it wasn't what I was looking for.
No, I agree with you. It's kind of a mixed bag. And what I was going to ask you was, it felt like we were missing part of the story before this issue. Like, did something happen? And like, was there side event issues that like, because I felt like between the last issue and this issue, I feel like there's things that have happened that they weren't really showing us, and then they kind of just jumped ahead in this issue.
Yeah, like pages out there, because the Watcher gets rescued almost or something, then he's he finds out about like, there's a lot of interesting things that was going on, because wasn't it the trial of the Watchers? The Watcher thought he was wrong because he interfered, and
Yeah.
now he finds out, what happened further on that was hidden from him before.
Well, that did happen in a one shot you didn't pick up that I talked about. Remember? Yeah. So that's what I mean, though. I think but I've been picking up, as far as I know, all the stuff that Dan Slott, the writer of this event, has been writing, the writer of this book. So I'm surprised that it still felt like we somehow jumped ahead in some of the events of this book, and then some of the other things seems like they've happened a while ago. Like, it's a little all over the place in terms of the pacing of the event so far. I felt like, right? Like, when I was reading this, I just felt we missed something. Like, and I'm just like, I don't know why I feel that, because we've been reading every issue, right? Like,
yeah, like maybe there's just a time lapse in between this one and the last issue or something, or I don't know, but
maybe it's on us. I mean, it's probably been more than a month because of the delay on some of these comics since this has come out, right? Maybe it's just because we don't remember. You know what I mean? Like, but there was some good moments. I hear you. It was a mixed bag for sure. I was just like, it was fine.
Yeah, like I think maybe if you read all the stories together, it might have been more impactful or something. But like half the time when a new kind of storyline would show up in there, I had to remember kind of what happened to get to where they are there,
Yeah. What'd you give it?
I want to give it more now, because now I'm just thinking of all that Doctor Doom stuff. But if that focused more on all that Doctor Doom fighting, because that fighting was great with them, like especially when that whatever the Hellsman comes out, they think they got his hand. He goes, "Oh, I'm just letting you battle just so I can draw you out," and all that sort of thing. I thought that. But otherwise, I'll give it a 3. I'll go with my original feeling for it. I'll give it a 3.5. It was good, but I was just too confused reading, and maybe that's on me, not so much on the comic.
No, I mean, it's on me as well then, Chris. I feel this felt the same way. So yeah, I'm gonna also give it 3.5. But like you said, more based on those Doom moments, because those were good. Like this is him showing up for the first time in the event. So like there were some good moments with him. But I think everything else kind of just is getting a little bogged down, or we missed something maybe we don't recall, because it just felt like I felt some separation from the material, So anyways, all right. Immortal X-Men #2, last book of the night here.
I got one of the variant covers.
Ooh, hold on, take a look at that one. Very nice. Nice cover.
Variant cover or something, because I don't think it's the X-Gwen ones.
Yeah.
But either way, a little spicy. That's not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, so what'd you think of this one?
I thought it was a good story. Like, I like the way... What's that? That I don't even know what that thing is called. There, what they're fighting.
It's the thing that Selene resurrected and got them to fight from last issue. Like they wouldn't accept her on the council. Instead, they brought Hope on, and then she resurrected this big bug thing.
Control the gates or something as well too, because it seemed like they'd be able to beat it easily. Once Magneto and Storm kind of stepped into the picture, you go, "Oh, this thing's gonna die, no problem."
Which it did.
And then I guess some repercussions to what they were doing, that they can't kill this thing. So I thought that was very interesting, a different twist on the battle. And then the way they decided to freaking kill it was kind of weird too. Weird in a good way, with I guess them offing Selene and basically bring her back to life because they couldn't track her down, and almost killing her again or something. And the Sinister stuff, I don't know what he's up to there, but I'm liking it.
Yeah, he used because Sinister, makes all the clones and fucking messes around with all the X gene type mutant stuff, right? So he came up with some sort of concoction that basically made him like a big juice bag in this one scene. He's like the Hulk, and he just drank the liquid and he just became this big like hulking monster and started fighting this thing. What's that?
Turned into a kaiju too. There, hey, watch out! This is only going to last a few minutes, so I need something to bail me out.
Yeah, Nightcrawler had to come pick him up in like the water afterwards. Yeah. I love this series. I think 2 issues in this might be actually my favorite X-Men book now. I think it's just great. I love the story being told in this one. I love Sinister. I love the characters involved in this, the Quiet Council people, like all the council people. I don't know. I just, between the art and the story being told so far, this is very strong 2 issues in. I just feel like this is a great X-Men book. And I really enjoy X-Men. We were just talking about it last week. I think it was your favorite book of the week. I think it was last week or the week before, but yeah, it's which is also very good. But this, I don't know, I'm really liking this book right now. This Immortal X-Men 2 issues in, very strong. I just like what they're working with here. And I think Hope's a great character, and she's the daughter of Cable, for anybody that doesn't know. And, you know, she's definitely, as she mentions, she's in her monologue in this issue, she's been trained by some of the best of how to assassinate somebody. So she goes and takes care of business and takes out Selene in this, man. It's great. Yeah, I mean, it's what else is there to say? I thought it's an excellent issue again.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Hope though. Not yet. Maybe I just don't know enough of her. She seems a little overpowered to me there, where she just kind of walks up to people and takes their powers, and it seems a little too convenient. But that's maybe I'm just unaware once again. But I thought it was a very like a thought out story, you know, with twists and turns. But I don't think it just didn't do it for me this time. I don't know.
Yeah, just feels like that kind of week for you, unfortunately, overall.
Maybe I was in a tired mood when I was reading all this stuff, or
it's like that sometimes. I get it. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, no, that's cool though. What'd you give it?
I'll give it a 3.5. Like, I don't know, I'm just not connecting with that Hope character, and
Yeah.
she was like basically the star of this episode or the star of this issue.
Yeah. I thought she had a great moment. I haven't read a whole bunch about her, but I do know who she is and like significance of her, I guess. So I give it a 4.5. I thought it was a really great issue.
You like Mr. Sinister in this one though, like where he goes, just because I tell the jokes, everybody thinks I'm a joke. I'll show you.
Yeah, I love Mr. Sinister too in this. All right, everybody. So that's gonna do it for the books that we read this week. We'll get back to letting you know what we're picking up next week and our favorite book of the week. But quickly, we just wanted to go over a couple of news pieces that came out in the news this week. This actually came out last week, but I failed to mention it, I think, on the show at the time because it just came on the heels of the announcement of Neil Adams dying the week before. So really, two comic book legends within the last 2 weeks prior now had passed away a week apart, it felt like. And this one, I also feel like it went under the radar, and I didn't talk about it because we've been talking about this guy's possibly passing for a while now, and that's George Perez. Just because we kind of did I did a whole spiel about his work and what I like about it and what I know of it, and some of the things that he did that was important for comics when we talked about JLA Avengers when they re-released that book. And the reason that everyone's been talking about him for a while leading up to this, and the fact that they released that book was they wanted him to experience those things. They wanted him to see that get re-released again. They wanted to show people that they were celebrating his work, and him especially, because this is one of those guys in the industry that one of these artists that was apparently like just one of those guys when someone dies, like no one has a bad thing to say about this guy. Like everyone has great stories about him, fans and comic pros alike. Like, so yeah, you know, once again, guys, George Perez, a great artist. Check out some of his work if you get to do so. Some of his things that he's did over the years that were great are New Teen Titans with Marv Wolfman. Like I said, the JLA Avengers, if you were able to get a copy of that when it came out, hopefully, you know, look for that if you can. You know, there's a lot of price gougers on the internet selling that thing right now. So, but a lot of the time, the money, if it's going to the, you know, it went to a comic book kind of charity, comic creator charity. So, if you're gonna support them by you know, giving money over to that, or if you know that the sale is directly going to go to that, then you know, whatever you feel like paying for it is definitely worth it. JLA Avengers is great. He drew like the first half of Infinity Gauntlet. He did like basically the definitive run on Wonder Woman. He did Avengers for Marvel. Like he worked at both Marvel and DC and did like great things at both companies. So check out any of the things he's drawn if you're a fan, or if you're new to his work. Yeah, and you know, rest in peace to him. I don't know, Chris, did you have anything to add to that, or but yeah, that's it.
Like I said, wasn't familiar with the name, but you know, when you go over the list of all the things that he's either starred of or been a part of, you know, it's a pretty impressive list.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I can't say like, you know, I was a huge fan of him when I was younger either. I'm kind of even newer to a lot of his work. Like, you know, when I got back into comics over the last, you know, not even going back 10 years, maybe the last several years even, because I wasn't aware of him really when I even got back into comics at first, right? Because he wasn't doing anything regularly as an artist at that time, right? So, but yeah, I've seen and I have collected and own a lot of his stuff now, and I'm slowly reading it and appreciating the guy's art. Another guy who just drawn like every single Marvel and DC character between those events, like the JLA Avengers and his time on Avengers and Teen Titans. He's pretty much drawn like everybody you can think of, and again, very detailed, clean line artist. Like this guy put a lot of time into his work, and you can tell like he doesn't phone shit in. Like, you know what I mean? Like so many artists nowadays, right? So anyway, so yeah, go look him up, guys, if you're new to his work, or if not, revisit something. And the thing that we kind of hinted at the start of the show, you can tell my voice is now getting a little more hoarse, is the fact that Marvel just recently lost the license, I think, to the Conan publishing of having him in comic books. And even their collections and everything else that they've been really pumping out over the last few years since they got the license back from Dark Horse Comics that had it previously, who had it for like, I don't know, more than 10 years or something like that from Marvel. I think Marvel lost the license in the 90s. Marvel was the first people that had the comic book license for it, and then they lost it, I think, in the 90s, the Dark Horse, and then Dark Horse had it for like quite a bit. And now it went back to Marvel, and there's a mini series coming out right now, King Conan, with him, as well as we just talked about. He was in the first issue of Savage Avengers, so it's kind of a shame now that they've lost the license again. I know a lot of people are upset they're not going to be able to reprint all of the Marvel material that they were planning, and it explains, Chris, like we were talking about in front of the show, why I think they're trying to get Deathlock to erase them already from that series, right? So,
That's it. Trying to erase him like straight out of existence.
Yeah.
No, I just thought it was weird because I didn't think Conan was such of a time traveling menace, you know, compared to all the other things that are going on. But I guess now the truth is out there.
Well, you know, they're going to try to make up a story to explain his his presence no longer being a thing, I guess, in the Marvel books. I know some people really hated on having him in the Marvel books because they thought it should be its own separate thing. That Savage Avengers series, though, is just like not to be taken seriously. It was always just a lot of fun, like of the badass characters in the Marvel universe teaming up together on a team. Like they're not even really an official team in that sense, but that last series with him showing up in it actually made for a lot of fun comedic moments. Like there's an issue where him, Kang, and Doom sit down for dinner in like Doom's castle. Hilarity ensues, Chris. That's all I gotta say. Like Conan is just, you know,
Did they ever Conan and Kazar or whatever his name is meet up or face each other?
I think because Kazar did come into the Savage Avengers series for an issue or two, if I'm not mistaken.
Conan ripoff when I guess maybe they lost his license.
No, I think they were around the same time. They had those characters, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong, but you're right. He's more of like a Tarzan ripoff though,
right.
Than a right.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, I just quickly wanted to mention, I forgot when we were talking about George Perez, I did want to show this off. I forgot to talk about it when we talked about Nightwing. So I wanted to show it off with the George Perez thing. He actually showed up in this issue. Did you catch that?
No.
So that's George Perez right there. Hold on. That's George Perez right there. There's a drawing of him. And if you look on the side, the sign here, it says Marv and George. It's supposed to say Perez. This is Marv Wolfman. And that's George Perez. Like the artist drew him in. And because, you know, obviously there's a connection. With them and Teen Titans, right? That's where that's the
Titans go. They have Marv Wolfman and George Perez in one of the episodes.
Yeah. So
anyway. I don't know, but anyways,
what they had them show up as themselves, or
like they're the writers. It's one of those kind of fourth wall breaking episodes where they're there as heroes. But you gotta watch it. It's crazy.
I know. I've been. A lot of people have recommended that show to me. I should watch it. I've heard a lot of great things. It's one of those great all ages cartoons that's good for adults and kids. I've heard, like, because they actually inject it with a lot of real comic books, like, you know, storyline type stuff that we would be fans of, right? So, so I should check it out. But yeah, there you go. So Conan's. I forgot the name of the publisher. It's like some other publisher. I think that, and I guess prints books more so.
Publisher either, like I say, if I saw it there, it's. I don't know, like some English group or something, AD 2000 or something, maybe, or no?
Yeah, I think they're not, I think, known for printing comics. So, like, what they do with the license from here on out, I guess we'll see. But I know it's a shame for a lot of people because they've been releasing the big omnibuses, you know, those hardcovers of all of Savage Sword of Conan and his regular series. And they've come out with like 10 volumes of those so far. And they're not going to be able to complete that run because of the fact the license is going away, right? I even ordered the hardcover collection of Savage Avengers, the last series that came out, So, I mean, it's already been solicited. So, from what I understand, anything that's already been solicited, they are going to come out with still, but nothing new apparently is going to be coming out over the next, like, going into 2023. I don't think they're going to be allowed to print anything. So, I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's a shame. It was a good run. I mean, I've read some good Conan stuff from writers. I just feel like it would have been nice to have Jason Aaron, who's doing the current King Conan and did the previous Conan, get more time with the character. I know it's one of his favorite characters, as he mentioned when he was able to write the book. And I just don't think he had enough time to tell many more stories than I'm sure he had because they lost the license already, right? And also over at IDW Comics this year, they already mentioned that they're about to lose the license to G.I. Joe and Transformers comics. So that no one's apparently picked it up yet, but that should be interesting. Apparently, Robert Kirkman over at Image was a little interested in it. I think he may have been in talks with them about it. But Marvel would be an easy kind of, you know what I mean? Like for them to get Transformers and G.I. Joe back because they've had it in the past, right? A lot of interesting possibilities there for these licensed property comics moving.
Red doing a lot of good stuff with Transformers, not so much with G.I. Joe, but there's been a lot of good Transformer stories coming out of the IDW.
Yeah.
Why they're losing it, or they just don't want to pay for the new.
I guess, yeah. They've had it for a long time though, and like I agree with you. Like I haven't read much of it, but from what I've heard, they've done right by the Transformers comics. Absolutely, same with the Ninja Turtles, but they're not losing the license to that, thankfully. So, but they're losing it at the end of this year. So, look out there, guys. I've already been seeing a lot of the collections being offered at discount prices, possibly at your local comic book shops, because of the fact that the publisher now has to get rid of all of their back stock in their warehouses of these books. So yeah, so look out there, guys. There is deals, I think, to be found in some of the paperback and hardcover collections of these books if you look around, because what's happening is, from what I've been hearing, is that the publishers now are offering discounts to your local LCS to order from them to get rid of that back stock. So yeah, could be a good opportunity to pick up some good books of Transformers. So yeah. All right. Okay. That being said, though, what are you picking up next week, Chris?
Okay, let's see. Next week from Marvel, I got Devil's Reigns Omega. Not looking forward to that so much anymore. But Hulk 7, Punisher 3, got Spider-Man.
Sorry.
ASM 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Avengers 56. Got Action Comics 1043, Batman Beyond the White Knight 3, Deathstroke 9, and Robin 14.
Nice. Bigger week finally, I guess it sounds like, for you, eh? These last couple of weeks.
A decent sized week, and
yeah, I got May 25th. I got Amazing Spider-Man 2, Batman Beyond the White Knight 3, DC versus Vampires Hunters 1.
Oh yeah, find that one on the rack. I'll probably pick it up. Yeah,
it's a one shot. Devil's Reign Omega. Like you said, it's been a long time since that's around now. Now I'd rather just pick up Daredevil. I'm like, I'm over that. Harley Quinn 15, Hulk 7, Punisher 3. Really looking forward to that. And Saga 59. That's it for me next week. I got 8 books.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I got 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, I got 10.
Yeah.
It's most of the Shadow War tie-ins.
Right. All right, cool. So there you go. That's what we're picking up next week, everybody. And all right, Chris, do you have a favorite book of the week this week?
Trying to dig it out here. Some good covers this week, though, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite book of the week was Catwoman.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, good one. Mine was Nightwing, obviously.
Something. Fuck, did I miss something there or what?
I don't know. It just hit certain things for me, I guess, that I'm looking for in this book, or I like the character. Well, you already said that you don't love the character as much as maybe I do, right? So for me, I don't know. It's that was probably just like it was delightful. it was good to read. I was like, oh, this is nice. I mean, runners.
If you're missing something, or I don't know.
Runners up for me were Batman the Knight and Immortal X-Men, though, which were also really good issues. But yeah, I got to give it to Nightwing. So.
It was just a single issue without the backstories. I thought Thor was great.
Thor was good too. Yeah, no, for sure.
like how they got so close to kind of figure out what happened to Bruce Banner, and then freaking Odin gets kind of sucked out of the head there, or gets sucked back into the hammer, and he can't explain to you, like he's telling Thor, "Shut up! I was so close. Put me back in there. We can figure this out without fighting." And then fucking
Right.
hell loose, and then it gets crazier after that. So I
Yeah.
thought that.
It's been a fun book, man. It's a fun ride. I'm looking forward to see where it goes from here, right? So
That incident or whatever, the El Paso incident, where everybody, like his Hulkness was like contagious or something. Was that just in his head or what?
I think it's something that happened at the end of Al Ewing's run, the run that came before this one. If I'm not, I haven't read the last bit of the run, so that's probably why I don't know what they're referring to. But he says
The Immortal Hulk 50 or whatever the last
yeah,
Hulk
yeah,
was.
yeah. So I didn't.
He says, "Oh, I thought I had everything under control. You know, we were good here. You know, he had plans to do things, and then freaking things just went to hell in this bar."
Yeah, because they said that he actually fought the devil or something like that, which is always like something that happened that was going on in that Immortal Hulk book. Like there was like the Red Door type business was something like a portal to hell almost of like all these Hulks and stuff that emerged out of, and that's where like that's how he's able to come back to life and everything. So I don't know, it was a lot of like body horror type horror themes going on in Al Ewing's Hulk, right? So that Immortal Hulk. So I think that it has a lot to do with that. But since I haven't read it, you picked up 50, didn't you? Didn't you pick up the last issue of that run?
Yeah.
What's that?
50?
Yeah, you picked it up, Immortal Hulk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
It was over my head because that was the only issue of Hulk I read.
Right. Yeah. I think that's what they're referring to anyway. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that next issue of Hulk next week's going to be good, though. I'm really looking forward to it. So
Yeah. Me too. Good stuff.
All right, everybody. Well, that's going to do it for this week. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. If you know people that like comic books, let them know about this show. Recommend it. If you can, spread the news of the Comic Shop Talk here on the Late Night Collectors community. Make sure you're subscribed and all that good stuff. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Later, everyone.